Hi there, welcome to video number 3 in our introduction to imaginary numbers. Now that we know how to simplify radicals with negatives under the square root using imaginary numbers, we can use these to solve quadratic equations. So let's look at two equations that you previously would have had to say no solution to, and let's see what their answers are now that we have imaginary numbers. So we have a quadratic equation over here on the left. There's no x term. So my normal strategy would be to go ahead and try to use the square root method. So let's do that. I have 2x squared, and I'm trying to get x alone. So I'm going to divide each side by 2. Doing that, I get x squared equals negative 25. I don't want to know what x squared is. I want to know what x is. So I'm going to square root both sides. When I square root x squared, I get x, but what pops up? A plus minus. And I have then the square root of negative 25. Now this is normally the situation where you'd say, oh, no solutions. But now with imaginary numbers, we know what to do next. We say x equals plus or minus radical negative 1, radical 25. And of course, radical negative 1 is just I. Radical 25 is 5. And then we always write our imaginary numbers with the coefficient first, kind of like I was a variable. And that's our answer. Moving over to the problem on the right. This is similar in that I have, I have a couple things I could do here. I could FOIL this out. I've got x plus 3 squared. I could FOIL it out and go from there. But using the square root method at this stage, I could just start by taking the square root of each side. When I've got an x squared, I'm taking the square root of it. So a plus minus will pop up in this situation. Over on the left side, I've got radical negative 49. Over here on the right side, the squared and the square root cancel out, and so I'm left with just x plus 3. So I've got x plus 3 equals what? Well, radical negative 49 is 7 from the 49 and I from the negative. So now I've got x plus 3 equals plus or minus 7i. At this stage, I'm going to subtract 3 from each side. Over here, that cancels out. Now, I've got a real number and an imaginary number. Now, just like if I was a variable, these two things do not combine. These don't combine to give me, 4i or 10i or anything like that. Instead, they don't combine. I